we get pretty, I'm not saying this isn't important, but I think for me, this obsession with restitution and financial stuff, I mean, we haven't seen much of it, but there is a big cry for that. But for me, it's this shift in consciousness. The holy people have said, rather than try to tell a new story from this point forward, you would be better off retelling the old story. And if you go back and retell the old story, you will automatically change your trajectory into the future. So I keep thinking about this pandemic as trying to control. I don't want to start a big old brawl here or nothing, but I think it's quite likely that the virus was created in human laboratories, and I don't know for what purposes. I don't know if it was intention. If that was the case, I don't know if it was intentionally turned loose or was an accidental turning loose. If all of the medical response coming to meet it and all the billions of dollars that are being made there, if that was a happy accident, because there's whole corporations and groups of people who have figured out how to prepare themselves to capitalize on disaster, even ones that they don't see coming. They're ready. I don't know if that's what happened, or if it was turned loose to make money, or even if it was, somehow came straight out of nature. Our response is coming through a colonized lens of profit, of hierarchy, of who gets to have and who doesn't get to have. So for me, I feel that I have to go back to my own Indigenous people's history is so much longer than Western science's understanding of history, hugely longer. And so we talk about having lost worlds before. Maybe you've heard people say, this is the fifth world or the sixth world, right? And so I go back to that and I say, we have lost worlds before. We have lost worlds before, and we have had to begin entirely all over again, reinvent the wheel practically. And so I hold that right now. I hold that. And I ask myself, in the event that we lose this world also, which we do stand to lose, I think, what is right action right now?
That's the question. That's the question of the time.
So that's, that's holding a view and a way of being that is beyond a single lifetime, which in modern world paradigm, everybody's obsessed with a single lifetime. In ancient culture paradigm, we talk about 7 generations. So I'm always moving in this train of generations. It's not just me. It's not just me. Now, when we talk about the losing of worlds, we're talking about many, many generations. That's a long train of humanity that takes place in one world, the time, if there is such a thing, of one world. So right now, what does it mean? So for me, what I feel is, and this is why I'm not someone who's really fractured and scattered in my thinking and my goals and in my purpose, because I feel like I have aligned with both possibilities of us not going over the cliff, and I do believe all possibilities are humming in the air, or us going over the cliff. And for me, the primary thing is I got to uphold the honor of being human being. 2, I need to rectify whatever wrongs can be rectified. And rectified, we get pretty, I'm not saying this isn't important, but I think for me, this obsession with restitution and financial stuff, I mean, we haven't seen much of it, but there is a big cry for that. But for me, it's this shift in consciousness. The holy people have said, rather than try to tell a new story from this point forward, you would be better off retelling the old story. And if you go back and retell the old story, you will automatically change your trajectory into the future. That's a pretty clear directive. one thing that that's saying is you're not equipped to think of the new story yet. You can't create it from where you're at, but you do have 2020 hindsight. You can see what went wrong. And I feel like that's part of what this co-witnessing that is arising is about. Address that. Start there. And if you start there and you can heal that stuff, the entire vista that you're looking at is going to change. I mean, if you think about it from personal healing work, personal therapy work, I mean, that's happened to me. I've had to go back and heal it. And Spirit has come in and said, I never intended for you to try to manage all these really hard things that the adults were going through, trying to survive the attempted genocide. I just wanted you to experience the beauty of being on this earth. I wanted you to kneel down in the grass and look at the ladybugs. That's all I asked of you when you were 5 years old. I didn't ask you to try to fix your parents or, you know. And so once that came clear to me, the entire vista of my world changed. So that's what I feel like we're being asked to do on a collective level. I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to stop talking here and be a good guest. I also have been, you know, this goes back to our conversation, Ian, from the Mythic Masculine. I go back to thinking about, for me, one of the greatest untapped resources that humanity has, that we have yet to see what would happen, is when the sacred masculine understands itself. When the sacred masculine embodies itself and comes forward and lives among us. As long as the men see themselves as patriarchy, they're not going to be able to step into that place. And you and I talked about that. The men are not the patriarchy. The paradigm, the power over paradigm, the modern world paradigm, that's the patriarchy. The men are not that. That's how they behave when they're in it, but that's not who they are. We don't know who they are yet. We don't know who they are yet. And I'm going to say to the women's nation out there and anybody else out there, as long as we keep pointing at the men and calling them the patriarchy, we are preventing that movement from happening. The sacred masculine has an opportunity. It doesn't have to do anything, but it has an opportunity to arise and appear and step forward. And here's my new thing, is if that were to happen, one of the things, medicines that would also be released as a domino effect would be that the feminine eros would be able to move in its fullness, in its freedom. And for many ancient cultures, that medicine is exponential on the part of humanity. When that woman is in her full eros, when the feminine virility is in full bloom, her capacity to bless in conjunction with the Mother Earth, all life, is so huge. We don't even know it could happen. So I call for that. And I'm also going to say that with the arising and the full embodiment, the stepping forward of the sacred masculine, the earth also will feel safe. See, right now that can't happen because the way the masculine is enacting in the power over paradigm, women don't feel safe enough to step fully into their eros. And I'm going to say the earth herself cannot feel safe enough to step into her eros, into her full expression. So what happens when all those levels of the feminine finally feel safe enough to release the medicine that they hold? Because we say the woman is synonymous with earth, synonymous with life. That's what I want to see happen.